Hi again, everybody. Did you see the map that I made of our classroom? Isn't it super cool? I had to take my time so that I could remember all of the different things that are in our classroom. And I had to think carefully about where to put each thing and how big to make each thing, because of course some things in our classroom are bigger than others. Maybe I'll put that down for a minute and we'll just go over these pictures. Maybe I'll hold this like this. Does that help? Just a minute, boys and girls. I'll be right there. There we go. Okay, so this is Abigail's Adventures to the Amusement Park, and this was the side view. And from the side, you can see bushes. You can see the hot air balloon and the man inside the basket waving. Maybe he's saying, "Come take a ride." You can see the entrance to the park. And beyond the entrance, you can see a tall tower. It almost looks like a castle, doesn't it? And I see the top of a tent. Maybe there's a ride in that tent. Do you know what an amusement park is? I guess I should ask you that question first. That's a place with lots of rides where you can go to have fun, isn't it? So you can see some things in the side view, but not as many things as if you were to look at a bird's eye view. Now, bird's eye view means it's like you're a bird flying through the sky and you're looking down on the picture of the amusement park. Look how much more you can see. Oh, I noticed something. The bird's eye view is actually, did you notice this? Someone in the basket of the hot air balloon looking down onto the amusement park. I see the front entrance like we saw in the side view. I see the tent. I see the tall tower. But look what else I see. I see a carousel. I see 3 small tents in a row. Maybe those are games that you can play. Oh, wait a minute. I see 2. Let me put my... Look at this. I see 2 rows. Here's a row of 3 smaller tents. And here's a row of 3 smaller tents. So I'm guessing that those are places that you can play a game or you can get snacks to eat. And then I see this tall ride, which is called a What Do You Know? A Ferris wheel. Look what else I see. I see these smaller towers with the flags surrounding the amusement park. So you can see so much more. And what are all these things? They're people, aren't they? So you can see a lot if you were like a bird flying through the sky. Wouldn't it be fun to try that? Now, the next map that they've given you is actually a real map. So what have they done? They've taken each of the things in the amusement park and drawn it in the spot where it should be, but they've drawn it using a symbol to represent that object. Okay? And you might look at it and say, if it weren't labeled, you might say, well, what does that symbol stand for? So the way that you can tell on any map when you're reading a map is you go to this box right here, which is called a legend, a map legend. And what the legend tells you is it draws a little example of the symbol in the map, and then it tells you that when you see that symbol, this is what it stands for. So this symbol, every time you see it on the map, stands for boats. If you see an ice cream cone, that's where you can buy ice cream. If you see a lollipop, that's where you can buy candy. If you see a little rectangle thing, you can get tickets, probably to ride a ride or play a game. And then if you see a lady and a man symbol, that means restrooms or bathrooms. So that's helpful because some things on the map aren't labeled. Like, look, remember that means candy and this means tickets and this means washrooms. Other things they've labeled for us. For example, look, they gave the amusement park a name, Fort Mirth. That's helpful. And then they drew a rectangle with some triangle shapes to show that there's a tall roof on it. It's a big top tent. And then here, this is the forest behind the lake. And oh, I remember what that symbol is. It's boats. Oh, and look what I can buy at the tower. Remember the tall tower? I can buy tickets. So they're not showing it as a tall tower. They're just showing it as a square to represent the tower. And then they drew 2 rectangles with circles to show the Ferris wheel. And then 1 rectangle in the background, didn't they? And then see these circles? Those are the small towers that I was saying. Oh, look, here's the entrance. Now, another important part of maps is the direction words. Did you notice them? North is always at the top. And then opposite north is, do you know? South. North is at the top. South is always at the bottom. West is to the left, and east is to the right. So if you were standing here, let's pretend this is you in the middle of the park, and you said to someone, where can I find the Ferris wheel? The person that you're asking might say, oh, you need to head north. So that means you would go this direction because that's the direction of north on the map. And if you go north on the map, you'll pass by the Ferris wheel. So that would be helpful directions, wouldn't it be? Or let's say you stopped and asked somebody, where could I find ice cream? Well, the ice cream's right there. And what direction am I moving in? If I'm heading this way to get to the ice cream, I'm heading east. See how that works? What if I'm here and I decide it's time to go home? I'm going to head back to the entrance, which is now the exit, and I'm going to move down in the direction of south. Okay, what if I'm here and I want to go to the big top tent? There's something, maybe an exciting show to see. Then I would go in this direction because there's the big top. And what direction is that when I'm going that way? West. So the direction words are important because they help you know where you need to go. Now, if you take a look at the map of our classroom, now I have to think for a minute because if I were to put the directions on the map of our classroom, this would be north, this would be south, this would be west, and this would be east. That makes sense, doesn't it? Because that's exactly like what it was on our map of the amusement park. Now, I want you to orient yourself. I want you to figure out where we are. This is our classroom door. And then if you think carefully, right beside our classroom door, Mrs. Card has the mailboxes where we collect our mail, right? And then the garbage can's there too. And you know what I thought of? The recycle box is there and the little shelf where you put your water bottles. I didn't draw those in. I should have. Then we've got a bookshelf with lots of books. And then that little carpet that you like to sit on, right? And then I think this is where we keep Kobe's boxes, right? And then Mrs. Card's colored drawers where the easy button is. And then right beside that is the toy shelf. And my computer sits on top of that. And this circle is a little stool. So are you noticing that the shapes don't actually look like the objects themselves? They just stand for those objects. And that's what happens on a map, okay? The symbols stand for the objects. And then this is the big carpet at the front of our room, which is actually on the west side of the building. Interesting. And then I drew our smart board. We have another toy shelf. And look along the south side of the building. See these little rectangles right here? Those are the windows. And then underneath the windows, I made a big rectangle because that's our bookshelf. In the middle of the classroom, I put the tables. Table 1. Whoops, table 2, table 3, table 4. And guess what these little lines stand for? The chairs. Can you tell where you sit? Let me see if I can name everybody. So at table number 1, this would be Kylie. This would be Samuel. This would be Janaea, Colby, and Layla. At table number 2, Caleb Y, Claire, Jedi, Kobe, Aiden, and Pippa. And you know what I forgot to draw? Stools for our helpers. So Miss Alana sits here and Miss Bernardo sits here, right? And then over here, let's go to table 3. We've got Benji and Cassio and Merrick. And I was going to say Carter. Carter used to sit there. Jet sits there now. And Alicia sits there. And then at table 4, we've got Caleb B and Myra. Now that's where Carter sits, right? And then we have Lily and Dominic. Now, where's my desk in comparison to yours? It's over here, look. See? Mrs. Card's table. And then do you see the circles I made? Can you guess what those are? Stools. Right, I labeled them, didn't I? And then there's a carpet at the back. And then you know that big counter we have at the back of our class that has our containers for our headphones and the iPads we keep there. I could have drawn all that on too, couldn't I have? And then right beside the counter is Mrs. Card's cupboards where she keeps all her stuff. So you'll notice that most of the shapes in our classroom are rectangles. And did you notice that there are squares already on the page? I actually used those squares to help me draw the shapes so that I could be neat and tidy. So guess what? You're going to do a map too. And you're going to do a map of, look what it says, a map of my bedroom. So you just have to decide where you're going to put the door. Okay. I showed the door by not a big triangle, just a little one. Okay. Some bigger things in your room, like your bed, could probably take up a few squares, couldn't they? You might actually be able to make your symbols bigger on your map of your bedroom because you have less furniture in your room, whereas Mrs. Card had to make my symbols smaller because we have so much stuff in our room. So I don't want you to just draw all the things in your bedroom in the corner. Make this whole grid, that's what this is, be your bedroom. So if your bed, let's say you got a window right here, so you would draw a rectangle for the window. If your bed fills most of your room, that's going to be the biggest shape, isn't it? Okay, so don't make it all be in the corner. Make this whole grid be your bedroom. Does that make sense, grade 1? Okay, now I also want to tell you that when I first did my map, I did it in pencil so that if I made a mistake, I could easily erase it. And then when I was done, I went over it with a marker, a Sharpie. So you can do the same thing too. Okay, and don't forget to label everything. Sometimes the symbols were too small for me to put the label right on the shape. So do you see what I did? I put an arrow and then I wrote the label. Okay, so that's what you're going to want to do too. So have fun with that. I think that's a neat project. All right, everybody. Bye-bye.